In this video, we're gonna go over the top 25 mistakes that new Amazon sellers make. I'm gonna show you real Amazon sellers and real mistakes that they're making so that you can avoid these mistakes and save money. And my name is Travis, and even though I've made over $7 million in online sales, I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of mistakes. And some of these mistakes are very easy to make. You won't even realize that you're making some of these mistakes until it's too late, unless you pay attention. We're gonna go through every single mistake that people make when starting to sell on Amazon. And we're gonna go through the mistakes in the same order that people usually make the mistakes. We're gonna start off by talking about manufacturing mistakes and mistakes that people make related to that. Then we're gonna talk about packaging mistakes, and then listing mistakes people make when listing their product on Amazon. And after that, we're gonna start talking about mistakes people make when launching their product on Amazon. And towards the end of the video, we'll talk about all the other mistakes that people make related to Amazon. And some of these mistakes can be really surprising. So that's one of the big reasons why I recommend you watch this video all the way through. But make sure to smash the like button, because this one video right here is going to save you thousands of dollars. So if you're thinking about starting your own Amazon business, you're gonna wanna stay till the end. With my first company, which was called beaddancewear.com, we did over $3 million in sales, but I made so many mistakes myself that I barely made a profit. So I'm gonna reveal the 3 biggest mistakes that I made with my first business right now. And the first mistake that I made was starting out with way too many different products, way too many variations to sell, and these are known as SKUs. Every individual product, if it's a different color, if it's a different thing, that's a different SKU, which stands for stock keeping unit. So take note, because this could be an issue that sinks your business one day. We had 40 different items that were available in 11 different sizes, and those were available in 200 different colors. Everything was made to order, which leads into mistake number 2, is that we did our own manufacturing. We were really 2 different businesses. We were a manufacturing business and an e-commerce website all put together into one business, and that's a lot to manage for anyone. And the third mistake I made with this business was I had no passion for dance clothing. I didn't care about dance clothing, and because of that, I was constantly working hard and getting burnt out because I didn't care about the product. So what I did is I created a business that only had one SKU where someone else could do the manufacturing for me. And most importantly, I created a product that I was passionate about, something that I was actually excited to talk about. I've since launched products I love and I'm passionate about, but I've got to be honest with you. Along the way, all my mistakes have probably cost me over $500,000. And I'm gonna share with you all the mistakes that I've made when selling on Amazon, as well as all the mistakes other sellers that I've been interviewing have also made. So if you wanna avoid these mistakes and avoid wasting a lot of money, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, and pay attention. One of the most expensive mistakes that new Amazon sellers make is bad manufacturing. When you're manufacturing your product and you're making adjustments, you must always pay attention to the details, which is a huge mistake that Michael made, and it cost him $20,000.
We were selling a lot of stock and we didn't want to risk of running out, so we ordered from another manufacturer as well. And we actually, didn't inspect those and sent those right in, and it ended up happening that they were much worse quality, so people were actually leaving bad reviews, and some people were really upset because they bought the previous product from us that was much higher quality, and they were very upset about that.
If you have a manufacturing partner that works, stick with them, or you could end up losing $20,000 like Michael did. And look, I've been selling on Amazon for 10 years, and I've gotten the battle scars to prove it. I had damaged products and packages that burst open because I partnered with a bad manufacturer, and it cost me tens of thousands of dollars, not to mention negative reviews, returns, and a bunch of other things that could have destroyed my entire business. I had to spend thousands of dollars fixing pouches that didn't have tear notches, another few $1,000s throwing away leaky pouches. I also at one point had film that was damaged during shipping, and that cost me thousands of dollars. But the biggest mistake I made with manufacturing was picking the wrong manufacturer, and I ended up having a manufacturer that scammed me out of tens of thousands of dollars. So be careful when you're deciding on which manufacturer to work with. You don't have to make all these mistakes. You just need to know how to avoid them. Do your due diligence when you're partnering with a manufacturer. But when you're creating a brand new product, sometimes you need to have molds made, especially if it's going to be a plastic product where there needs to be injection molding done. Andrew created Tool Wrangler and he made over $70,000 in profit. but he made an investment that blindly cost him over $20,000.
When I ordered this mold, it was $20,000, and I was really nervous about whether it was going to fit or not. So unfortunately, the person that made the mold for me was not able to test it, and I had to just accept it, pay them in full before I ever received the mold to see if it was going to work. So when I got it, I actually tested it out, and it didn't quite work. I was freaking out. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was thinking it was going to be a boat anchor, and I was going to have to go find another $20,000 to try, which I didn't have, to try to have another one made. And we came up with a pretty clever solution. The first pieces that came out of the mold actually had a little bit of a problem because they were too loose. They didn't correctly fit the way they were supposed to. So I ended up climbing inside the machine with a Dremel tool. It ended up resulting in a much tighter fit. We got a little bit lucky. And now, if you see the two pieces, when they engage, they actually snap together and lock.
And this is a common trend I see oftentimes. When you think that your business has failed, you just wasted $20,000. If you use a little bit of ingenuity, you might be able to not only fix the problem, but it might result in a product that's even better. Pay attention to every detail, or you might make the same mistakes creating your product. But when you're creating packaging, there are a ton of mistakes that you need to be aware of and you need to avoid, because these mistakes cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in potential profits in the long run.
The product I had could actually be split up and packaged in different ways. So even though it was only one product with two different components, I could package them in different combinations. And that allowed me to build out a few more SKUs and add more to the portfolio, which ultimately led to more sales. So the lesson I took away there was add some more SKUs if you have a winner.
And the next thing you realized is, why stop selling on Amazon? Because you're selling a passion product. You're selling a unique product that doesn't exist in other places. So you started selling on some other platforms as well. What other platforms did you sell?
So starting on Amazon, I also went to Etsy, I went to eBay, and then I also expanded to other Amazon marketplaces in different countries. And then I also developed my own website as well.
And this is a huge lesson. This is something that I teach everybody that joins my Amazon FBA program. And Andrew's actually a member of the PPF program, but you talked about how done is better than perfect. Talk a little bit about what that meant for you and why people at home should listen.
Yeah, that was a message that I got from you in the course. Basically, I was really stuck in analysis paralysis. I think a lot of people do get there. You know, you want to make sure your product is perfect and everything is great. And the reality is that held me back. You know, I could have had this product on the market probably a year earlier if I had just moved forward. And there's always opportunity to make the next version and the next iteration. Besides, half the time, the customer feedback tells you the way you should go. And so I really think it's most important just to get the product out there, get the feedback, and then move forward and innovate further rather than wait till you think it's perfect, because what you think is perfect might not be what the customer wants.
Andrew said it perfectly. You need to get past analysis paralysis. Otherwise, you'll never actually start your own passive income business. Pick your passion product and try to stick to one or just two SKUs when you first start out. That way you can focus on promoting those specific businesses. That's how I was able to create my first business that was making over $100,000 in profit every year. 28% of Amazon customers go from searching for a product to completing checkout within 3 minutes. When your customer sees your product, they must immediately understand what it is, or you're going to lose them. That's why only having one or two different types of products with very clear packaging is so important. Every aspect has to be clear, cohesive, and reflect your message, or you'll end up like Edgar. Edgar was selling apple cider vinegar, but his packaging mistake cost him over $10,000.
We took a premium product and put it in non-premium packaging. We took our organic apple cider vinegar and put it in plastic. And the reason we did that was because we wanted to offer the best possible price we could. However, our customer base really told us they wanted to see it in glass. So we listened to our customers. We discarded and discontinued the previous item, which we had to get rid of a lot of materials and supplies and designs that we had come up with it. We found a beautiful glass bottle and we designed it for our organic apple cider vinegar.
Now, Edgar spent around $10,000 of his time and energy and his team's time developing this product, but in actual dollar amount, they sold 800 units of the plastic bottles and made a profit off that. Though they did have to throw away a bunch of material, they more or less ended up breaking even. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So thankfully, we weren't super in the negative because we were able to sell a bunch of the units, but we learned from that mistake, and now we're actually selling thousands and thousands of units of our glass organic apple cider vinegar on Amazon, and we're seeing great profits.
Luckily, Edgar learned a great lesson, but he could have saved hundreds of hours of stress and over $10,000 if he would have packaged his product correctly from the beginning. Make sure that you think through your design and that you love it before you start shipping out your product. Or you'll make the same mistake that cost one of my students from my Passion Product Formula course thousands of dollars.
Remember that fee we talked about, the whole labeling and everything? That was like very bad. I didn't have a nice label, it didn't look good. My listing images kind of were really bad. So I would say that was one of my biggest mistakes because people buy with their eyes, and that was pretty bad.
But here's the important thing. He started out with a bad design and he's iterated it and it's become better and better and
way better.
And that's the way to start a business, is start it.
Just start.
Yeah, just start. And so the second mistake you made after that, what would you say the second mistake is?
So I would say bad quality control. I never had a quality control procedure in place. I never checked my products. I know a lot of people talk about inspections in China. I never did that because I was in the US, which was a big mistake because my first 100 bags, 60 of them broke during shipment.
Mina put quality control procedures in place and made over $48,000 profit in just his first year, but he could have doubled that if he had just paid more attention. Fred made cable caddies, and in his first 6 months, he made over $10,000. But Fred made a big packaging mistake that could have cost him more than $5,000.
So I had made my initial order, and then I did a design change while that was being built and shipped over to the US. And so I had to do a lot of rework on my product, and so it impacted my ability to ship inventory to Amazon.
Now, luckily, it actually didn't cost Fred any money to fix this. He was able to pull out the units and fix it himself. But the amount of time that he had to spend doing this, I estimate that cost him at least $5,000 worth of his time.
Yeah, so you kind of get stuck in kind of a loop where you're trying to figure out what product to go with, and it's kind of like analysis paralysis when you first get going. But I think the thing that I've learned is that you just have to pick a product and start going.
Fred is exactly right. If you don't start now, you never will. That's part of the reason why I have an Amazon FBA mentorship program. There's a link to it down below in the description. And when you join this program, you get access to weekly Q&A calls with either myself or my coaches, step-by-step lessons, and a bunch of other benefits. Link to that down below in the description. But when selling on Amazon, you need to choose what your passion product's gonna be. You need to find the right manufacturer, and you need to pay attention to the packaging. Because with over 4,000 new Amazon sellers joining every day, if you aren't selling a good product with good packaging, your product could easily not do well on Amazon. When you're getting your product out in front of your audience, you need to make sure that you have everything done correctly. You get one chance to launch a product, or you could end up like Karina and Justin. They made a huge mistake with just a click of a button.
We were planning initially to launch in December, but then once we talked with Travis, he said that it would be a nice idea to launch at the beginning of the year when everybody is back to their homes from all the vacations.
And they're making New Year's resolutions. They're trying to eat healthy. It's perfectly timed. Versus during Christmas, you don't want to launch a Kickstarter during Christmas, because what happens is people want to buy things that they're going to get in time for Christmas. They don't want to buy something that they're not going to get for a few months. What was the mistake?
Typically, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks for Kickstarter to review your listing and approve it. But this time when I clicked on submit, it literally took like probably 5 seconds for them to approve it. So then the big button came out. And what did it say?
I think it said launch now, and then there was a little tiny chyron that said details. And I walked into the room. She says, "Oh, it's approved." And I walked in. I was like, "Oh, let me see." And right as she was about to click launch now, I was like, "No." But then she was too late, and there's no going back once you've launched a Kickstarter. You cannot remove the campaign. So we spent about 24 hours, give or take, trying to figure out if we could take down the campaign, which we couldn't. And then we started marketing it after the fact. But, we lost probably a decent amount of revenue right there just from that initial 24 hours is very important on a Kickstarter.
And you launched this product the day after Christmas.
Yes.
Probably the worst day to launch a Kickstarter, because people are just done spending all their money up until Christmas and they need a break. And I think personally, it lost at least $3,000 just from that one mistake. So make sure to be very careful when you're launching a Kickstarter. But you guys still did fairly well. How much money did you make from the Kickstarter?
The Kickstarter was over $4,000.
And that's enough money to kind of, first off, it lets you know that people are actually interested in this product because people spent money buying the product, but also you got that money before you really had to spend money on your production. So you were able to use that money on manufacturing. Right. So then you did your first manufacturing run. How much did your first manufacturing run cost you?
It cost us $6,000 to do our first production run. I think our second mistake was not to take proper rest after we finished with our Kickstarter because we felt very burnt out.
This is a huge thing. Most entrepreneurs, when they just keep going. They launch something and they're like, okay, cool, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. And it's important to celebrate your wins. I always recommend when you hit a big milestone, take a week off, take some time to go travel and enjoy your life. You've got to take care of yourself. Burnout is a very real thing. And if you're not taking care of yourself, letting yourself recharge, you're not going to be able to run your business to your full potential. And that can cost you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in missed opportunities. Take some advice from Jeremy, who launched Slim Caddy and did over $100,000 in sales in just his first 6 months. But there was an issue. After your first week on Kickstarter, you'd only raised $3,000. And the way that Kickstarter works is you had a goal of $10,000. And if Jeremy didn't hit that $10,000 mark, he would get nothing. And usually the first week of a Kickstarter is when you make most of the money. So how are you feeling at that point?
Yeah, not good at all. Frankly, I kind of knew that it was going to be tough because I didn't have, I kind of jumped in, literally was this is now or never, didn't build a massive email list, used Facebook groups like Travis will talk about in his Passion Product Formula course. That really helped. That was actually like kind of my bedrock for making funds on my first couple of days, but it wasn't enough.
So then what'd you do after that?
Basically, did a lot of cross promotions with other Kickstarters. Try to get that Kickstarter fan base behind my product. And then even, just being a kitchen product, decided to go around my own neighborhood, knocking on doors and literally giving them little pamphlets about it. Even Christmas time, put a candy cane on the actual thing, just generate that emotional connection with them.
And when Jeremy told me that he'd only raised $3,000 in the first week, I was nervous. But then when he told me that he's knocking on doors, he's getting scrappy, it got me excited, and he ended up raising the $10,000 he needed 2 days before the end of his Kickstarter and finished with $11,000. Jeremy is a hustler, but he had to be. He didn't have an audience when he first launched. Don't make that mistake. I have an entire module in my Amazon FBA program that talks about exactly how you can do marketing for your business so that when you launch, you have an audience from day one. And that's going to lead to getting a ton of sales from day one. And that's what Amazon wants to see. That's going to create a snowball effect where you get a ton of sales from day one. Amazon sees you have a good product. They're going to put your product up higher in the search results, which is going to lead to more sales and more sales and more sales. Again, if you want to join my Amazon FBA program, there is a link to it down below, but you do need to hear this. Build an audience and launch your product now. Because if you wait, you could be losing out on tens of thousands of dollars every single day. Jeremy made this mistake too.
I guess it wasn't really waiting. It was just this issue with my factories. It taken months of my time to find a manufacturer that could actually make it for me.
And here's the key insight. Jeremy made over $10,000 profit in his first 6 months. If he would have been able to launch his business 6 months earlier, he could have made an extra $10,000 profit. And most people get stuck in analysis paralysis. They never start their business. But what they don't realize is every minute that you're waiting to start your Amazon business, your online business, you're losing money because you could have been making so much money. Analysis paralysis is very common. Almost every successful business person I know suffered from analysis paralysis at the start. And hopefully by now you're noticing a trend. And that trend is don't wait. If you have an idea for a product, start now. And even if you don't have an idea for a product, in my Amazon program, we have an entire module showing you how to find an idea that's going to be profitable when you go to sell it on Amazon. And if you don't act soon, one of those other 4,000 new sellers that are joining Amazon every day might steal your idea, might launch your idea before you get a chance to do it. So act fast. Willem didn't have enough of a following when he launched, and it might not sound bad, right? But think about this. Every single follower is a possible customer. And if you don't have a following, you're losing out on money when you go to launch. One thing that I always recommend is to create a social media account to try to get as big of a following as you can, to try to get as many email addresses as you can, so that leading up to the launch, you can email everyone and let everybody on your social media know that you just launched your product. Now, this is something that you didn't do as much of. Why did you not do that? And how would you do it differently?
If I could do it again, I would have taken TikTok more seriously and grew that social media platform so that I could broadcast to all the fans that Rocket Tea was available. I feel silly not to have done that better. A bigger social media following during the time of launch would have been nice to sort of broadcast to those followers that are already interested in the product.
And I had one student, AJ, who used TikTok to do over $500,000 in his first year ever selling on Amazon. So TikTok and social media is a crazy fast way for you to make a lot of money with Amazon. If Willem would have started this business even earlier, we would have already had that unprofitable month behind us, and he'd already be starting to make a profit. What advice do you have for people at home?
I would say don't get stuck in analysis paralysis and don't be afraid to fail forward. I went back and forth on a lot of different things and it kept me from getting started sooner.
Social media can skyrocket your sales. Take Logan and Leanne. They sold a product called bathrobe curls, but they took so long to launch on Amazon, someone else got there first. This is one of the worst mistakes you can make, and it cost Logan and Leanne at least $100,000.
I think with the social media, a lot of it was psychological barriers, a lot of it apprehension or self-doubt that mainly I've never done marketing in my entire life, and then combined with a perfectionist personality, it can be really daunting to step into something that feels so big.
We took so long and we didn't launch it the right way. There's another product, well, there's similar products, and one of the products is selling $150,000 a month worth every month. So we're missing out on, we've missed out on a ton of income. And our product is, I don't think I'm wrong to say it's superior. So the mistakes we made were not building those relationships. And I think that's what you're talking about when you talk about keeping people in the loop, letting them know what's going on. People are actually interested. You could start with friends and family, let them know you're doing this, invite them to a Facebook group, and then bring them along on the journey. The successes, and really mostly the failures where you made mistakes, like where we got labels and they just weren't right, or when we got the first set of product and had sticky labels all over them. Even when we were struggling with our own, like maybe sense of self-doubt or perfectionism, people, I think they really do want to hear about that, and it's relationship building. So we missed out on that.
Make sure to have those relationships to set yourself up for success. You've got to put all your attention into your products when you're launching them. This next mistake is one that I made with my first company, P&B, when we were trying to sell our products in jars. I was not involved at all during the launch of this product. I've been spending the last year focusing more of my time on teaching students in my Amazon FBA program and partnering and investing in students to help them launch their own Amazon businesses. And so yes, I might start getting more involved back with P&B, my original Amazon business. You need to do your best to avoid manufacturing mistakes, design disasters, and any packaging problems. But there is something that's even worse that we're going to be talking about soon. We need to talk about inventory and inventory issues. And this is another common issue that a lot of Amazon sellers run into. And this one mistake is so common that in all the interviews I've done, this one has come up almost every single time. I've interviewed over 30 people and every single one of them have made this mistake. A bad product leads to bad reviews, and bad reviews can tank your entire business. Ariana learned that the hard way. There were some mistakes on the card, so we're stuck with 2,000 units, very minor mistakes, but we're stuck with 2,000 units that have mistakes.
I didn't spend the extra money to have them ship me one of the products just to see how it looked like, which is a big mistake. So I would have been able to catch those mistakes, but because I felt very confident with the proofreading and everything, we ordered those 2,000, and then once I had the physical product, I noticed what went wrong. So now I'm stuck with selling those until I can.
And there's a lot of big lessons here. One of the big lessons here is there's going to be mistakes with your product. Ariana reviewed it so much, we hired a sommelier to review the product. She had friends look over the product, and she told me I'm 100% confident there's not going to be any mistakes.
Yeah.
And I told her there's for sure, because there's so much text on our product, I'm like, there's for sure going to be one tiny spelling mistake. So understand you're going to make a mistake, and it's not that big of a deal.
It's really not the end of the world. Like, now I know what the mistakes are and I'll change it for next time, and people are still going to buy it.
It's as simple as having an eye for details. Now, here's a mistake I see every single day from new sellers.
We would have made even more money if it wasn't for our second mistake, which was running out of inventory.
Running out of inventory.
Inventory.
The mistake of running out of inventory.
See, I told you, this is a very common mistake. This is a serious issue, and I've seen it cost people thousands. In fact, it almost cost Brandy $40,000.
So I did run out of inventory, and I sold out, in the first 2 weeks, which To some people that sounds amazing, but really it's not. I projected that I was going to do maybe 300 sales my first month. But once I started seeing, on my 11th day, I hit 100 sales a day. So at that moment, I should have been, let's get some more inventory ASAP, So running out of inventory is definitely not something that's ideal. And yeah, it's one of my huge mistakes. I wish that I didn't have that issue.
Don't make that mistake. Brandy was lucky. She risked $40,000, but it cost Emron $105,000. That's right, $105,000. But he learned a big lesson.
The biggest thing is ordering enough units. And sometimes when you're first starting out, you don't know that magic number, right? And what happened in my case was that I was spending so much money on PPC, I did SEO, and I was able to go ahead and rank for the biggest keyword in my niche, which was shoe cleaner. And I went from selling right around 20 units a day to selling 60 units a day basically overnight.
That's a really good thing, right?
Like, yeah. I mean, it seemed like a great problem to have.
Yeah.
Except when you run out of stock, Amazon hates that.
Yep. Blacklisted. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what ended up happening to me, right? I spent a whole month out of stock. And when I finally got back into stock, I did everything I could to try and go ahead and get that shoe cleaner Amazon Choice badge.
So you went from basically 60 units a day down to 20 units a day in sales.
Yeah.
It's a really big hit. And if we break down the numbers there, you were making about $7 profit per unit. So you lost 40 sales times 7. It's like $400 in profit per day times 365 days, because it's been a year now.
Yeah.
That's over $100,000 in lost sales.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that no matter what I try now, it's very hard to even get there again.
The next mistake is from Brent. His product, Sear Pro, last year alone did over $1 million in sales on Amazon. But he made this horrible inventory mistake that cost him even more success.
We would have made even more money if it wasn't for our second mistake, which was running out of inventory during Christmas. During Christmas, you will sell triple the amount of volume. So how I fixed that was I used more of the proceeds of the money that I made and leveraged more of my house. And fast forward, we've never ran out of inventory ever again. And now we're sustainable. And in our second year selling on Amazon, we did over $1 million in sales. One of the biggest mistakes I honestly feel like I made was I didn't launch my product soon enough, because the money that comes in was incredible. I make about $20,000 to $30,000 a month. And yes, a lot of people that are watching this, you can do this on your own and you can fine tune your product and get your website up in 2 years by yourself. But why would you want to do that when you could take a course and get it done in 6 months? The product sat out in my garage for 2 years. And had I taken the course and not delayed, each month that I sell my product, I make about $20,000 to $30,000 a month. Imagine 2 years lost, not with those sales.
If you have the right amount of inventory, you'll be okay. I go over the secret tools to keep track of your inventory in my Amazon FBA program, the Passion Product Formula. Link to that down below. But Ariana made the flip side of this mistake, and it cost her $10,000. We spent $5,000 on our first production run. That actually wasn't true. We actually spent $10,000 to order 2,000 units. If we would have only ordered 1,000 units, it would have only cost us around $5,000, but we ordered too much inventory.
And we made this mistake because Travis's Amazon business was selling over 1,000 units a month, and he ended up running out of inventory at one point.
And when you're selling on Amazon, you don't want to run out of inventory, because Amazon might blacklist you or just decrease your sales because they don't think you're a reliable company. So we ended up ordering 2,000 units of Ariana's product to be safe, but we could have just ordered 1,000 units of Ariana's product to keep startup costs low, because it did take longer than expected to sell out of those 1,000 units.
It didn't matter though, because eventually we ended up selling all 2,000 units.
Not only can this mistake cost you $10,000, but you can lose so many potential sales, which is nothing compared to the mistake that Michael made getting his product to the Amazon warehouse. And this mistake cost him $500,000. It could have ruined his entire business. Make sure you don't do the same thing.
You know, we would launch a new product or a lot of inventory and just send it all into Amazon. I'll be like, oh, based on the math, it could do this amount of sales, and I don't want to run out of stock, so I'm going to send in a lot of units. And what happened is, you know, with one product, that we started launching it and then the product got taken down. So now we're stuck with a lot of units we have to send back. With another product, it took a longer time until it really picked up in sales. So our calculations were way off and we had a lot of extra units in Amazon. So we kept having these issues. And then we had another time where we actually sent in a lot of inventory directly from our manufacturer. and there was issues with like the labeling, and because it was such a big order, it was costing so much money. What we really realized is that it makes much more sense to really calculate very conservatively for the start of how much you need, and once your product, and even if you're going to have to start sending in much more units and more often, which is annoying to have, you rather send in a shipment once a month than have to send in every few days. But in the beginning, it's too hard to calculate exactly what the pace is going to be to send in those smaller shipments, but more often. And then once your product stabilizes, then you can make very calculated decisions on larger shipments.
The thought of losing $500,000 wakes me up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat. But we've got 5 more massive mistakes you must avoid to succeed on Amazon. And number 25, the last mistake we're going to talk about, it can end your business before you even start. It's so simple. Almost every seller, without even realizing it, ends up making this mistake. And I highly recommend you pay attention to this next section. And paying attention is something that AJ didn't do, and it cost him when transporting cocktail cards from the manufacturer. And it cut his profits in half.
Well, first of all, we decided to send a lot of our inventory by air shipment versus sea shipment. That cost $18,000 more. So while we did get our inventory a month faster, it pretty much cut our profit in half. And number 3, this is our biggest problem, is inventory. We've been out of stock for 3 months. We probably missed out on over $100,000, maybe even $150,000 worth of sales simply because we haven't gone all in on inventory until this point.
Missing inventory because of that delivery mistake can have a lot of trickle-down consequences. Shipping is a world of stress, but you'll be okay if you just pay attention. And that's something that the next person didn't do. This, ironically, heavy mistake cost Iman $12,000.
Amazon charges you an Amazon pick and pack fee based on the weight of your product. So if you have up to 1 pound, that's one price. If you have over a pound, it's a different price. This right here, this product was in the borderline between 1 pound and 2 pounds. And what ended up happening was that my supplier filled up my actual liquid on this one here, where it fell into the 2 pounds on Amazon, which meant for 1,500 units, I basically got charged an extra $1.20.
You'll do anything to make sure your business succeeds, right? And one way to make sure that your business succeeds is called PPC, which stands for pay-per-click advertising. It's a way for you to advertise your product on Amazon that'll make it so that your product shows up at the top of the search results. More attention equals more money, but it also means more inventory, a mistake I learned the hard way.
Not setting up PPC earlier. Now, again, I did this on purpose to make this an honest test to really try launching a product without PPC. But if you're launching a product on Amazon, Amazon PPC is one of the most profitable ways for you to advertise your Amazon product. For every $1 you spend, you can be making $3 if you do it correctly. The other reason I didn't do this is I wanted to wait till I got some reviews on my product before I started using Amazon PPC, because if you're advertising your product using Amazon PPC without any reviews, the chance that someone's gonna buy it is very low. So you wanna get some reviews so people know that it's a good product. If you seriously consider PPC, the biggest mistake you can make is not making that investment, because it can cost you thousands of dollars of potential income. If you're not paying for advertising, you're losing out on potential sales. Just like Troy, and missing out cut his profits in half. Not really doubling down on PPC. He told me that so far you've only really run the automatic campaign, which is crazy. Because like if you can start really, and I'll link, I have a tutorial video I did going in depth on how to do Amazon PPC. It's the most in-depth PPC tutorial video. And if you really dive in and you really know what you're doing, you can double, triple, quadruple your profit very easily.
There are some fatal mistakes at every level of launching a product, even when you're seeing success. And this is the most important thing that nobody is talking about, and that's cash flow management. You could get trapped and end up spending $30,000 when you really don't have that money.
Poor cash flow management. Cash flow management is the most important thing nobody's talking about. It's not a sexy topic, but it's so important, and I wish someone would have sat me down and explained this to me before I got started. So please pay attention. So for me, every time I did a production run of my product, it cost $30,000. So every time I had to pay that, there was a lot of fear involved. I was scared whether or not I'd ever see my money again. But that's a topic for later in this video. So it would cost me $30,000, and I'd get somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 units of my product. So what happens? I spend $30,000, my bank's down to zero. And then I slowly start to sell those products and my bank account slowly goes up. But here's where the issue comes in. I would have to buy my next production run, another $30,000,
before my bank account had that $30,000. So what I would do is I'd always wait till the last second to order my production run till my bank account had gone up to that $30,000. Because remember, when you sell a product on Amazon, Amazon doesn't pay you right away, and there's some delay there. So what would happen for me is I'd always be waiting till the last second, which would cause me to always be on the verge of running out of inventory. Because I was constantly on the verge of running out of inventory, I didn't push my business. I didn't try to increase sales, because if I would have increased sales, I just would have ran out of inventory quicker. And this was a huge mistake, because when I launched on Amazon, I was the only product like mine on there. And if I would have really worked hard and really tried to grow my business rapidly, I would have had a huge advantage. I would have probably dominated the market. If you don't manage your business, you could lose everything that you've worked for. JP set up his business perfectly, and boom, he built a $10 million e-commerce empire. But he made this massive mistake just when his business started growing. And that's not growing the business. What advice would you have for someone, like if you could go back in time and give yourself advice, what would your advice be?
Great question. So by not growing the business, right? Businesses, I've heard this saying before, either grow or they die. It's like an organism. It can't just like continuously coast. So by us not growing it, everyone else was moving past us. So we had like half a dozen competitors pop up. You know, they worked harder on their marketing. They worked harder on Facebook ads. They worked harder on SEO. And by us not moving forward with like increased momentum, we were just falling behind. So the biggest mistake is being complacent and being comfortable with where you are, because entrepreneurship is a game of continuous innovation and continuous change. You have to level up your skill set, continuously learn from people who are ahead of you. So, you know, if I'm at $1 million, maybe I learn from people who are at 2 million, 5 million, right? Or who've been doing business for like 5 years, 10 years longer than I have. And that's where, you know, if I had done that while we were basically like, at the time, I think the #1 online custom mouthguard store. And if we had kept that lead and just leaned into it, I think we could be doing, you know, several $1 million more right now per year in revenue.
Every single thing we've talked about in this video is a mistake that has cost sellers thousands of dollars. But this next mistake is the biggest mistake, and it's the most common mistake, and you're probably even making this mistake right now, and that's waiting. Almost every seller I've talked to tells me, if I would have started my business a year earlier, I would have made an extra $10,000, $100,000, $1 million. And I know when I launched my first business in our first year, we did over $100,000 in profit. Meaning, if I would have launched my business a year earlier, I would have made an extra $100,000 in profit. So every second that you're sitting there stuck in analysis paralysis, stuck waiting, you're losing out on money. I didn't follow my own advice. I didn't really create a passion product, even though that's what I talk about on this YouTube channel, that my first product that was really successful was a passion product. This product wasn't really a stereotypical passion product. First off, it wasn't really that new or unique of a product. Yeah, it was a little unique because it didn't have any sugar, it didn't have any sweetener, it was an all-natural product. And I do think it is better than the competition, but my first product was a completely brand new category. There was nothing like it on Amazon. And that's why that product was able to have so much success, was there was nothing else. When people were searching for products like mine was the only one they could buy. Compare that to now when I launched this product, there's a lot of competitors for people to choose from, which means the chance that they're gonna buy my product is a lot less. Not to mention, and this is something it's hard for me to admit, it's not really a product I'm that passionate about. I'm actually not even a huge chocolate guy. This is me following the numbers and me just doing something because it seemed like it would make sense profitable. And if you're anything like me, maybe the reason you're stuck in analysis paralysis is you don't know what the first step is or the second step. You don't have a path or a plan on how to launch your Amazon business. And that's why I created my Amazon FBA program, the Passion Product Formula. There is a link to it down below. And this program has over 100 step-by-step screen recorded video lessons. It comes with weekly Q&A coaching, a private Facebook mastermind, and basically everything that you're gonna need in order to launch your Amazon business. And what I've seen over and over again is people that don't pay for things don't pay attention. And I know you might be worried, but my program has a double your money back guarantee. When you join my program, if you follow all the steps and launch a product on Amazon and don't make at least $1,000 in your first year, I will personally refund your program and give you $1,000 out of my own pocket. So when you join this program, you're guaranteed to make money if you follow all the steps. On top of that, we have a 14-day completely money back guarantee. This is a no risk opportunity. If you want to change your life, if you want to make passive income, if you want to have a better life, join my Amazon FBA program today and know that it's completely risk free. Again, link to that program down below here. Click there and I'll see you in the program, and I'm excited to help you to launch your own passive income Amazon FBA business. Thanks for watching.